obviously with yourselves, giving advice and CV writing guidance and interview techniques to people that really need it. So I've tried to do my best to tailor this to, obviously, do you call them clientele? What's your kind of... Lighthouse personnel, and my business, Liv as our apprentice. We're very passionate about not just recruiting, but actually giving something back as well. And yeah, I mean, with obviously Lighthouse personnel for faith reasons. My wife and I grew up near a lighthouse as well, and guiding people in the right direction. Yeah, so CV writing. So I thought first of all, the first little slide you'll see at the top is some statistics, but I can read them to you about CVs, which I think are really worth noting, particularly when you're giving advice to people. So 76% of all CVs are discarded for an unprofessional email address. That's 76%. And something as small as an email address. The best one I ever came across was "I hate my sister at." But, you know, it's a shame that people do discard something for something like that, but it is something that's so small that can change that. So, on average, each professional job offer attracts 250 CVs. Of those, 4 to 6 will get selected for an interview. That's from Glassdoor. 75% of employers caught a lie on a CV. Recruiters, and I would also argue hiring managers on this one, spend an average of just 6.25 seconds looking at a CV to start with. And then obviously if no, then they'll get the one that they like and they'll spend longer, but that's the average amount of time. So 59% of recruiters will reject a candidate because of poor grammar or a spelling error. Again, which I'm sure you guys are already probably well aware of that. Over 40% of recruiters are put off by too much design. Statistics, we know that professional email addresses are, first of all, really important. So even just having a second one, or perhaps, you know, maybe even avoiding one, but it's something that's got to be considered, because if CVs are being turned away for such a silly thing, surely that's something that can be addressed early on. The CV has to stand out amongst 250 others on some jobs, so that's a lot to stand out in front of. Don't lie on a CV, it can catch you out. We really push that. You only have 6.25 seconds to impress as well. So grammar and spelling is crucial, obviously, and too much design can also be off-putting. So the 3 key things for me is it has to stand out. You've got 6.25 seconds to impress, and too much design can be off-putting. So when you're talking to people, you've got to kind of bear those things in mind, because design is really important. It's got to be eye-catchy. So you've got 6.25 seconds. It's got to look good. With the design, moving on to the next slide that I've put there, which is all the research we've done on CVs, the best ones that we tend to find we see are 1 to 2 pages long. The best ones are 1 page long. We really think that CVs can get to 1 page, and I've got some examples in here as well, just to look at. For anyone, even if you've got 30, 50 years experience or 5 years, you can get it onto 1 page, because the CV's to be relevant for the job. It doesn't have to be, War and Peace. And actually, if someone's looking at it for 6.25 seconds, you know, that's going to be an instant. This is going to take me ages to look through, but I've got this other one here that's 1 page long that's got everything on. So we really think that if you're giving people advice, it should be to keep a CV to 1 or 2 pages. Colour, we don't think yellow, red, green, blue, pink, you know, just maybe one colour of a different font somewhere for your titles or your headings. It's instantly drawing to look at. You know, you're instantly looking at it. So even just a little bit of colour can really make a big difference. And make good use of the white space. Just use a standard Word document template, and it will just leave lots of different white space on the page. But that can be filled in with little smart art on Microsoft Word, which is quite easy to look at. If you look along the top on Microsoft Word, there's something called smart art, and it can add in little graphics, little squares, little things that look smart and that can be condensed and can fill those little spaces, and you can put them anywhere on the page. So obviously that's a little bit more advanced, but it's trying to make use of that white space so the CV doesn't look bare, also not too overcrowded. It's really finding that right balance. So the templates that I've shown, so these are the next ones, some examples. So do you, when you're doing CV stuff with the guys, do you tend to use Microsoft Word, or do you, I mean on Word, I mean these are just some examples of templates, these 3 here. If you search on Word when you open up a new document, resume, it comes up with hundreds of templates. And these are 1 page ones, and they're really easy to fill in. And some of them make good use of the white space. Some of them, you know, are a little bit cluttered. Some people like a picture on a CV. I'm not so sure really these days. Personally, I don't, but some people find it really professional. It depends on the picture, I suppose, as well. And obviously for the guys, you know, they might not feel so confident, so keeping away from that. But a one-page CV could be really nice and clean and professional, and give off a really good approach for someone. I really shout about one-page CVs. And then to give you some more examples of one-page CVs, the next page I've put there, I've actually put my CV on it. Because I did this recently, because I thought, do you know what, I go out and tell people that you should have a one-page CV, and mine's 2 pages. So I condensed mine to a page. And I used some smart graphics there, so I used some little columns at the top. I did this all on Microsoft Word, there's nothing funky about this. Fortunately, I've got a little graphic designer that's done a little picture of me anyway, so I put that on there. But if I didn't have that picture, I probably wouldn't put a professional picture on there. I just used some little symbols of some bags and put creativity, charisma and passion, so I've got bags of those things. I put some little smart graphics of my career history, what companies I've worked for. And I don't think you need to have reams and reams of paragraphs of details. I think you can actually condense it much more to give off the right impression, because you also want, you know, from an interviewer perspective, you want to be able to give them more at the interview. You want to keep some of your cards close to your chest. So, you know, when you're telling them, it's not about reams and reams. And also, what I think people can fall into a habit of is repeating what they've done in different jobs, and that's prime space on your CV to actually cut it down to you know, for something else. The other people I've put on here, Jeff Bezos, the guy who runs Amazon, and Elon Musk, he's an inventor. They're ones I just found on Google, but they're one-page CVs. And if those guys can get their CV on one page, then, you know, I don't think anyone else should have a problem. But I mean, obviously they're really techie and stuff like that. But they've used pictures as well. But I just think one-page CVs, if you're advising people, if you want something to stand out, to catch someone's eye when they're applying for jobs, if you can get these guys' CVs to one page, I think it's the dream. 2 pages is fine. There's no issue with 2 pages. But if you can get it on one page, or you can help them to get it on one page, it's even better. So the content of the CV. So one thing I bang on about is keywords. And one exercise I do when I go give talks, when they're actually putting their CVs together, is to think of their dream job and think what keywords someone would search to find that CV. So when you go on Google and you look for a new phone, you might type in camera, phone, Apple, and then it will pull up some ideas. When you type it up, go on Amazon, you use your keywords. Recruitment companies, hiring managers internally will search for keywords. And also, unintentionally, when you're looking at a CV from a hiring perspective, you're looking for keywords. You're looking for what the job description said somewhere in that CV. So when you're giving advice to people, helping them put together their CV, they need to be thinking in the mindset of what would the person who's hiring be looking for, and what 3 to 5 to 10 keywords are they going to look for. I had a guy who was applying for a marketing job with us, a friend of mine, and he asked for CV writing. He had the words content in there, social, he had all these other things, but he didn't actually have the word marketing in there. In any of his CV, there was the word marketing. He just hadn't thought of the keyword. Everything else was a wonderful CV, but he might not even get found, and he's really good at what he does because he didn't have the word marketing in his CV, and we just said chuck that in there, and lo and behold, within, you know, a few days, because it's a marketing job, lots of CVs are being found for that. He gets, you know, a couple of calls. Keywords are really important, and to say to someone, right, what job are you, you know, as I say, when we do these sessions, we say, right, think of your dream job. What 3 to 5 keywords would that person be looking for, or what job are you applying for? What 3 to 5 keywords, and where can you put that in your CV? And I think that little exercise with the guys, getting that out of them as well, what are they looking for, might help. Keeping the CV clear and concise, leaving the hiring manager wanting more. So what we said there is not putting reams and reams of paragraphs, but putting more. I mean, you can use bullet points. We use the little line separators on ours, and just put in job duties, again with keywords. So if it's, for me, if it was a sales role or something, words like KPIs, targets, clients, I would have client meetings, I would have meeting KPIs, I would have hitting targets, just to put those words in there, because that's what someone's going to be searching for. It's a retail job. Customers, I don't know, you could have stacking shelves or something in there, but when someone's looking through that CV, they're the things they're going to be looking for. again, good customer service. And I don't think it needs. When I was at this job, I did a lot of duties. One of them was serving customers behind the till. Whereas if you've got serving customers behind the till, you've already got so much more space. You can put something else in there. And I think people get into a habit these days. And in the world that we live in, where it's so fast paced, hiring managers do want to see it nice and quickly in front of them. And I think when you're telling the guys to keep it a bit more condensed, it might really help them. First impressions are everything, so make it personal to you. Keep it professional, yet keep clearly demonstrating personality. Again, with personal statements, they can come across quite rigid and quite like you're trying to give off this really professional person, but actually sometimes a little bit more humble. I've got a good sense of humour. What you'll get from me is someone that will bring a positive attitude to the team, rather than just, I'm hard-working and determined, and it's also using some of these nicer words to show off who they are. I mean, I'm sure I know that the guys that you deal with have had really tough backgrounds and things, but they will have. You've probably got some great characters that come in here that have got a lot to offer, and I think using some of those words about their personality in there, and with the personal statement, why you're looking, what you're looking for, are also two real key factors. You've got to have in there. People forget about that. I am this person, I'm this, I'm going to be this. But actually, I'm looking because I've been out of work and I'm really keen to find a new career, or I'm looking for a retail job, or I'm looking for this job. It really helps enhance it, because the hiring manager will take it seriously if they know that's the job you're looking for. So that bit can be tailored for each role for the guys. Just a one line of, I'm this individual and I'm looking to get into this industry or this job will instantly show that they're actually taking their job hunting seriously, because they've gone to the effort of putting it in to make it relevant for that role. So the sections on the CV, so we talked about the order of the sections. People think, what order do I put my CV in? Do I do job history, education? I don't think there's a right or wrong way. I think it's actually more on the individual. So if they've got a really good education, if they're degree educated and something's gone wrong somewhere along the line for them, but their degree should be at the top. Particularly if it's relevant. But equally, if they've got fantastic work history, that should be at the top. Or if they've got some really good key skills and the work stuff isn't as positive, who they are or what makes them stand out, why they are looking and what they are looking for. The work history, avoid long paragraphs like we've said. Lists and bullets are okay, but is there other separators that can be used? Avoid repetition of duties like we've said. So all this, if you want to email out or anything or print that bit, when you're talking to people you can have it or whatever. Cover gaps in employment as well. A lot of people don't do that, they just avoid it. They'll just put, I worked here from 2010 to 2012. And then 2015 to 2017, they don't even put what was in that gap. And even if it was, if it was that they were looking for work, just being honest, because otherwise people think you're hiding something. So just, honesty is always the best thing for me. As I say, you don't want them lying on a CV for sure. I like to think with something like that, you put a nice line, you really carefully word it. Due to personal circumstances, I was unable to work. More information available on request. You could put, and I would, it's difficult for them, but they could encourage following it up with a phone call to say, look, have you received my CV? I know there's a gap on there. I just wanted to explain it's this, if they're not hearing back from. I think you need to have something in there. I just think if you just left it, people will think the worst. And actually, I've interviewed people before that have been very honest about their criminal convictions and if they've spent time and it hasn't actually, had any impact on their application because they've been really good. Yeah, and when I look at a CV, people say looking after a family member or was long-term sick. But you don't go, oh, well, were you just not working? You didn't care, or you instantly know. Otherwise, you're just thinking, you're looking at the CV thinking, what happened then? Why haven't they put anything? And just one line, it's nice and easy. And more info available on request. So the other sections, work history, as we said, covering gaps in employment, education achievements. Only list relevant qualifications. I've seen, again, some CVs where there's hundreds of qualifications. And I think having the relevant qualifications is the most important thing, because otherwise it's useful white space that can be used with something else. And again, you can always put more qualifications available on request. this is just to help you condense it as well, you know, to keep it to that one page. Keep it clear and concise. I used to have a big table of education history. Some people like that. It depends on what qualifications you've got or how many there are. But actually, I think, you know, it doesn't have to be that long. On my one-page CV, I just literally put it on one line. This many GCSEs, this many A levels. These are the work-based qualifications on the next line, and this is it. I did 3 lines of my qualifications by condensing it. Whereas on my last CV that I had a table that took up probably a third of the page, and I literally just put them on 3 lines, the same thing, and it has the same effect. They're still there. It's just made it shorter and clearer so that you know, someone can see it nice. Oh yeah, there's his qualifications. Yep, he's got that. Or no, he hasn't. Fine. So again, that's 6.25 seconds. Where's my gone? There we go. Any key work or personal achievements? A lot of people don't put personal or work achievements on their CV. They forget to do that. Like a project they've been involved in, or you know, particularly the guys might have had to do volunteering at some places. I think my dad's even done some with probably some of them at some point. But they could put that in there. You know, helped. I think my dad was doing some installing some benches somewhere, some memorial benches somewhere with probably some of the guys you might have even come in to play with, and having that on their CV, volunteered with the community. You know, that's an achievement that you could put in there. That you might forget about, and actually is giving something back and shows they're doing something about the situation. Also personal achievements you can as well. Obviously got to be relevant, but was a sailing champion at my local sailing club or something. I mean, yeah, I don't know about that, but captain of my football team. I do think stuff like that is relevant to go in there. Or you can put that in your hobbies bit at the end. Skills, only list relevant key skills for the job. Again, so you know, if we've got an admin job and you're getting all these other key skills that aren't relevant, or if you've got a customer service job and it's purely customer facing like retail and you don't need computer skills and you've got all those on there, I think it's got to be relevant to the job. But make sure they can be backed up by experiences. So when the guys are putting them on their CV, ask them the questions of when did you do that? Because in the CV they're going to get asked, in the interview they're going to get asked. So they've got to be able to back it up with answers. Don't just repeat duties from the job descriptions, add something different. So if they're looking at a job description, yes, you want them to write down what's on that job description that they've done before, but add something different as well, not just what's on there. Hobbies and interests needs to be unique and personal. I again see a lot of like going for walks, cinema and football. They're ones we see. But who with, or where, or what? You know, where do you like going for? So I like going for woodland walks, or I like going on beach walks. It just adds a bit more personality. Again, on mine, I think I had. So I'm father of 3 and husband to a 1 million wife. Volunteer coach for a sports football team. Football sports enthusiast. Regular churchgoer who supports the church youth work. So I've already said like a couple of places where I do it, who I do it with, what I do, rather than just I enjoy football and going to church and. But you know, just to give a little bit more. And then personality fits is important. Personality fit is important to an organisation to show off your personality. You know, they might not like the fact that I go to church, so I might not fit into their organisation. But to be fair, if they didn't like that, I wouldn't want to work there anyway. So it's got to be important and relevant and reflective of that. And they want to consider, you know, the role they're applying for. Is it a team environment, and do they like being part of a team? And if they do, that's got to be in there somewhere. So, LinkedIn is Facebook for business is kind of the way you describe it. So you have a profile on there. Now the reason I feel this is relevant is because I've seen a lot of, so I read one story on there that I found really inspirational about a guy who was homeless, who set up a shoe shining business and has now got loads of these in different places. You see school and college leavers say, I'm looking for a job. You see lots of people sharing stuff about homelessness as well. And I think that if you could somehow encourage the guys to have a profile, that might be something further on down the line for them, and to share how their job search is going. I'm looking for a job. Unfortunately, I've had some unfortunate events, and this is where I'm at, but I really am encouraged to get back into work. Can someone help me find a job? You get thousands of shares on these posts and thousands of likes, and the exposure is massive. It's like having your online CV. So mine on there is, again, I mean, you have a profile picture, you have a banner that you can use, or you can choose an inspirational image, and then you could have like a key line. So mine says that I run Lighthouse personnel, I like going out and doing talks. and I like to be a bit of a do-gooder. You have like a summary, like a personal profile. People can endorse you, so you guys could endorse. You can write referrals and recommendations on there. So if someone had a profile on LinkedIn, one of your guys, and 2 or 3 of you wrote, what we really have loved about this guy from dealing with him is that he does just really want to get back into work, and when the other guys see he's got a great sense of humour and that is going to back up his opportunity. And again, you can add tags to that in your CV. Again, at the bottom of my CV, I have my recommendations from LinkedIn. I've taken little lines out of what people have said about me, and I've put it on there. That's references already in my CV, without having to give any details or anything that you guys could put on their LinkedIn. They can add it to their CV, and already they've got stuff on their CV to talk about who they are, and it's backed up by what other people have said. Where you've worked, and you have your duties in there, and then you also have your qualifications on there, and then, as I said, you have your referrals or your recommendations that people give to you. So the things we say about LinkedIn as a professional picture is really important. A well-written work history, same as you would on your CV, but on LinkedIn you can actually have it in paragraphs. It's more personable because it's a profile. It's not just there for finding a job. It's there to help you connect with business and stuff. So it's you can write the paragraphs, and you can talk about that in your CV. I mean, at the bottom of my thing, I've put a link to my LinkedIn profile on my CV and said more info here. So the job duties are really bare on my CV, but you go on my LinkedIn, they can read the full paragraphs of what I've put. So again, it gives someone else an opportunity to know more if they want to. The activity you can do on LinkedIn is you can search for jobs. There's jobs posted on there. You post updates to prospective employers, and you can even message them and say, hi, I've applied for the role, just letting you know, have you received my CV? You're instantly getting an answer from someone rather than trying to phone up and getting fobbed off all the time. You're actually getting an answer from someone if you're just chasing down a message. You can do research on there, so you can research the company information, you can research the person who's going to interview you. You might find that you went to the same school as them, or you worked at the same place, or your friend worked there. You've just got all this information on there that you can tell the guys to look out for. And I'm sure some of them have been really successful at one point in their lives as well, and have had a real fall from grace. And they can identify all that on their LinkedIn. Their profile will look really professional in that sense. The other thing that's a bit of a sort of sneaky tip that we found that works for research is you can research who the previous person was doing the job. And you can see what background they had and what skills they had. So, okay, they were employed clearly because they had this, that and the other. Well, I better make sure that I show that I've done that here or there without lying, and where you find it, in the right place. But it's a really good thing, and it takes 5 minutes to set up a profile, and you can copy and paste stuff from CVs. And as I say, I mean, if I saw someone in Colchester, a homeless person, saying that they'd gone to the effort of creating a LinkedIn profile and have written a status to say, I'm looking for a job, I would share that. I would tag people in my network because I would want to help that person find a job. And people on LinkedIn love doing that. And it might, you might find that you get, stuff off the back of it. This was a shoe shining guy who's a prime example of that. So, yeah, cool.